Ahead of the 30th annual World Water Day, we're examining the connection between our water and our food and how we can protect and improve in the future. Maura McDonald with the Walton Family Foundation is here to discuss ways to protect water resources while also making enough food so that nature and people can thrive together. Thanks for joining me, Maura.
Thanks for having me.
Of course, yeah. Well, let's dive into this fascinating subject. What is the connection between our water, our food, and the climate, and what can we do to address the impacts of climate change?
Yeah, so we spent a lot of time at the Walton Family Foundation thinking about that connection between climate, water, and food, and really what's at the center of all of that is agriculture. And agriculture is the biggest user of water and the biggest polluter of water. So when we think about how we can better protect our water resources, particularly in the face of climate change, we think about how we can make a transition to a more sustainable, even regenerative agricultural system. And the good news is that there's some good ways to do that work for farmers and work for the environment, and that we found in the Morning Consult poll that consumers are united in wanting to support farmers to make that transition.
Well, that is encouraging. How do our water resources impact food supply?
So, as I said, water's the biggest user and the biggest polluter. People are often surprised to find that fully 70% of fresh water is used in agricultural production. So at the Walton Family Foundation, we try to think about what are those low-hanging fruits? What are those sustainable practices that farmers can easily adopt and transition to? We spend a lot of time thinking about cover crops. These are crops that we can grow after a farmer has harvested their main crop in the fall and before they plant their new crop in the spring. These cover crops green up really fast in the spring, and they hold our soil and our fertilizer and our water resources in place in the field, use them up, and especially protect those soil resources from those intense spring storms that carry away farmers' topsoil and harm our water quality. Farmers also don't like to lose their topsoil because that's their economic livelihood. That's the center of their business, their agricultural business. So we can all work together to protect those practices, and in the meantime, and in the process, protect our fresh water.
Yeah, I like what you're talking about with protection and those cover crops. It's really fascinating. Let's bring it kind of locally. How does this study impact people in our community?
Yeah, so Americans all over the country are experiencing climate change through water, whether that's wildfires and droughts in the West, or more intense storms on the coasts, or flooding in the middle of the country. Water is the lens that is really the place where people are experiencing climate change. And so when we think about how we protect our water resources, I like to encourage people. I think we've all done a good job to spend a lot more time thinking about where our food comes from and the nutritional content of our food, and really identifying as eaters. And I think, this week, particularly on World Water Day, it's time for us to identify more as drinkers and to think about where our water comes from and to think about protecting that water so that it's here for generations to come.
Yeah, certainly being mindful of all of that consumption. Let's say our viewers are curious and they want to find more information. How can we do that, Maura?
I would love for them to come to our website at waltonfamilyfoundation.org, and there they can learn more about the work that we're doing to protect water in the face of climate change and working with farmers. And it's a great place, great source of information to learn more about that connection between water, food, and climate.
Yeah, well, thank you, Maura, for taking the time to educate us today and to fill us in on all of this exciting information. World Water Day coming up. It's tomorrow. Is that right, Maura?
It's tomorrow. Everybody go out and take a walk by your stream or take a swim in your lake, and let's celebrate our freshwater resources.
I love it. Thank you for your time today, Maura.